Hello and welcome to Interview, a production of the Government Information Service. I am Jallim Eudovic. On the 3rd of October 2019 at 3:30 p.m., St. Lucia will witness the unveiling of All In, a statue designed by Jallim Eudovic. This historic event is being held as part of St. Lucia's 40th independence celebrations. And to tell us a little bit more about himself, the event and the statue, I'm joined by none other than the sculptor Jallim Eudovic. Jallim, thank you so much for joining us today.
Pleasure, Jallim. Pleasure.
Okay, great. Now, as I said, I want to find out all about the sculpture and the event. But before we do, let me find out a bit about the sculptor. For example, I know that your father is none other than famed St. Lucian sculptor Vincent Joseph Eudovic. Did this mean that you were destined to follow in this path, do you think? Or is this something that you just felt came naturally yourself?
Very interesting question, Geraldine. From time, my earliest memories of myself was always that of wanting to become a creator, wanting to become an artist. You know, so I vacillated between sculpture, painting, architecture, you know, at a very early age of 5. Okay. Even theater. I dabbled in theater, I dabbled in poetry. Because I often say that the art world is sort of a universe, you know, and being an artist gives you a passport to navigate that space as freely as possible. So I still don't see myself as just being one thing. Okay. Sculpture is my core. That's what I've chosen as a career. But I've allowed myself the space to grow. Okay. into other areas of creativity. Okay. You know, but you know, back to your question, yes, I've always felt from a very early age that you know that I wanted to be a creator. Okay. That's what I am essentially.
All right, brilliant. Now, as a creator, as a sculptor, I know that you actually have many pieces on show in different exhibitions throughout the world. Yes. Tell us a little bit about that, because as a young man, again, you know, growing up in St. Lucia and whatever, to have your art, you know, exhibited in so many far-off lands, to me, that's something to be very proud of. Yes. So what kind of pieces are actually on show globally, and where are they located? Okay,
but you know, just to get to the genesis of how that happened, you know, I was always sort of a daydreamer. Okay. You know, and I dreamt of you know, being, you know, far afield. You know, in the world. I had the audacity of imagination and putting myself in those places, you know, because you know, when you grow up on an island, that's the only way you could you know, attain an international you know, savviness and international thinking. You know, you literally have to deal with your imagination. Right. So very early on, I took part in various exhibitions in St. Lucia, and eventually it led me to the MSc Fine Arts. I took part when I was in secondary school, and I will reveal today that MSc Fine Arts was a post-secondary school exhibition. Okay. But I sort of cheated the process and went in early because I was so eager for the exposure, and I did well in MSc Fine Arts. I won a couple of prizes and so on, and that sort of put me on the national radar. Okay. And eventually, I found myself on delegations taking me to Canada, taking me to France, Africa, and then Martinique several times. You know, I mean, Martinique is right next door, but Martinique is really first world, and I learned a lot from that country. And on my own, I have been to many countries, exhibiting England, China. You know, I mean, you know, you name it. You know, New York. I've had several exhibitions in New York City. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So. Okay. Yeah. All
right. Now, I guess it wouldn't be fair for me to ask, because again, as an artist, it would be hard for you to answer which sculpture maybe stands out the most to you. But what experience, in that case, can you tell me what experience that maybe evolved around a sculpture that you did that remains quite significant in your own mind? Is it like the first time you exhibited internationally, or is it when you went to a certain location and the reception you got? What stands out to you? Is there any specific event?
For me, my most memorable sculpture, or my most significant sculpture, was actually my first sculpture that I did when I was 5. You know. Okay. All my sculptures are created equally. You know, I love all of them, and I put a similar amount of effort in all. But when I was 5 years old, my first sculpture I worked on tirelessly for about 3 years. You know, I started when I was 5, and the sculpture probably finished when I was 8 years old.
Wow.
And it was an abstract horse. I can never forget. I still have it.
Okay.
You know, and I could put that horse underneath my pillow. It was a two-legged horse that I put under my pillow every night.
Okay.
And wish that it will magically grow 2 legs, two other legs. You know,
That's brilliant.
so that sculpture, you know, represented, you know, who I was at the time. You know, it represented the epic shift I was making, my learning curve, my understanding of the art world and so on. So all my aspirations and early desires at that time is encapsulated in this little tiny horse sculpture with 2 legs. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah. Okay, well, Jallim, it's time for us to have a break right now. However, we'll be back in a moment to find out a bit more about the event and the unveiling of All In. Sure. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
One of the 8 universally recognized rights of the consumer is the right to be heard. This means that every consumer who is dissatisfied with a good or service has the right to lodge a complaint to the provider of that good or that service. This should be the first point of lodging a complaint. Ensure that the receipt as proof of the transaction is available.
Welcome back to Interview. I'm joined today by Jallim Eudovic, who is a sculptor and who's here to tell us a little bit about All In, his sculpture for the 40th Independence celebrations. Now, Jallim, let's talk about the sculpture. What was your inspiration behind it? Can you tell us, I mean, I don't want to take away anything from the unveiling, but can you tell us a little bit about what the concept is maybe, and also what was your inspiration behind, you know, doing what you did?
Okay, St. Lucia and the people of St. Lucia is my muse.
Okay. St.
Lucia is an absolutely wonderful place. You know, I've traveled globally, and I've never seen an island fairer than St. Lucia, you know, according to the anthem. And, you know, our attitudes towards life, simple but elegant, you know, and our mixed heritage, our Creole heritage, the foods that we eat, the conversations that we have, our past, our present, and the way we project ourselves into our future, into the future, is essentially what defines us in Lucian, you know, and we do so in a very unique way. And so the sculpture speaks to the history of our people, the diversity of our people, because our people, as you know, is of mixed heritage. You know, there's 4 main ethnic groups that mix up the population of this country. You have the Africans, you have the Caucasians, the East Indians, and the Amerindians. You know, and so I always say that St. Lucia and the Caribbean, to a certain extent, other parts of the Caribbean, it's a sort of a social experiment or social miracle, because we find a way to become, in the real sense of the word, intercultural. You know, I don't really have time for multiculturalism, because that doesn't necessarily means that you together. But we came in different circumstances and for different reasons, but time has amalgamated and united us all. So the sculpture really speaks to that, you know, but most importantly, it speaks to our united stride into the future, and, you know, where we projecting ourselves. You know, our country has given so much to the world. We've given the world literature. We've given the world economic philosophy. We've given the world arts. We've given the world, we have so much to be proud of. We have so much stalwarts that has emanated from this small dot. You know, and I often say St. Lucia is like an atom. You know, it's small but it's powerful. If you split that atom, then you have, you know, something explosive. You know, so I really believe that this sculpture encapsulates all that. And to ask a question, to speak more to your question, the sculpture was from an earlier collection I did called Kudme. And Kudme, as you know, means it's French for coup de main, which means a lash of the hands. You know, and it's a French Creole term which describes a part of our culture where people come together,
Right.
Specifically to build a house. So this is an act of love. And I had an opportunity to do an exhibition at the Stephen Lawrence Center in London about 9 years ago, in 2010. I was invited there by Doreen Lawrence, Baroness Doreen Lawrence, and she wanted me to have the first ever exhibition at this renowned center.
Right.
And so I conceptualized something that resonated with what she did, with her life's work, which is creating architects out of underprivileged inner city youth of England, because her son had died in a hate-related crime, and he wanted to be an architect before he died. So she wanted to replicate him, you know, through those kids. So I had to find something in my culture that was sort of architectural, but it was sort of that love. And I discovered Kudme, and you know, this piece was originally part of the Kudme collection. So people at home who are familiar with this collection, I know they must be grappling right now trying to find out which one. So it's sort of a hint. But but so when the opportunity for the 40th independence anniversary came along, you know, this piece spoke very stridently and very loudly, you know, to this year's celebration. So it's a piece that I have been working on for, you know, even before I created it, a year or two, and you know, and I've been tweaking it for many years now. And it was, I guess it was for a reason. Because it's finally going to be unveiled on October 3rd.
That's great. Okay. Now we're running out of time, but before you go, I really want to know, how do you feel though as a young sculptor being picked? I mean, I can hear it to be. I'm asking the question, but it's also as if I don't even have to ask the question, because even in your answers beforehand, I could hear that, you know, what's coming through in your answers. But how do you actually feel about being the one chosen to do this, to have such a sculpture on display all the time?
Well, great honor. But even greater humility. Because when one is given the task to do something that represents your entire people, you know, that is an awesome responsibility that is put on your shoulders, you know. But I've grown broad shoulders because of my international, you know, undertakings. Because I have interpreted many societies around China, and you know, I've been adopted by China, and I do a lot of work for them, you know, and I've always yearned to do something for my country. So I always had that aspiration bubbling inside me that, you know, that I need to, as a Jamaican say, dance a yard. You know, you know, because and so when the opportunity came, it's something that I received with much elation, but also with a great degree of reverence and you know, and seriousness, I would say. You know, to find a better word, for lack of a better word, seriousness, because this is epic. You know, our people need those beacons. All the developed world, you have these iconic things, these iconic statues.
Very true.
You know, that break the you know, monotony of your daily lives. That give inspiration, that serves as beacons for inspiration, and also sort of a mapping, of a map of who you are and where you are and where you want to go. And people need these things, and all societies need these things to grow. This is very essential to our growth. You know, so hoping that my sculpture will not be the last. It's definitely not the first, but I'm hoping that this is an act of perpetuity. You know, this will continue into the future, because we've been given a lot by God, given a beautiful landscape, but we need to put on stage, on a platform, our own talent, our own local talents.
Brilliant, brilliant answer, wonderful. Well, Jallim, we have actually run out of time. However, I know that you will join me in asking everybody to make sure that they come out on the 3rd of October at 3:30 for the unveiling, for this wonderful event. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for being in the audience. Stay tuned to NTN. However, for now, this is Jallim Eudovic Joseph from Interview saying goodbye.